I'm Aren.
I'm Alex.
I'm Ginger. We're from Seems Reasonable Robotics, and you're listening to the RoboCast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Elliott64, and welcome back to the RoboCast with myself, Steve the American Killjoy, and once again, filling in for Jevon because he's on his holidays, is DavidOfSmeg. Hello, guys. How you doing?
I never left the call. I've just
still here from
this
last
is
week.
True. This is canon now.
Yep.
He's been here and he's well fed and he has at least slept. He's slept on stream. That's the thing.
Yeah, that happens. Luckily, we're not on Twitch, so everything's fine.
We're all good here, and we're joined once again by the lovely people from Seems Reasonable Robotics. And I think first thing I need to say is congratulations. And
what else, Sam?
Well, and I'm sorry for ever doubting you.
There we go.
Hey,
there it is.
I figure you got your whiteout out. You took Tantrum all the way to the nut.
I mean,
you could never.
Look at this. Yeah. Look at this mess.
Oh dear.
All those red X's.
It's not wise to look at the bracket.
Poor.
I mean,
never look at the bracket.
I did kind of speculate, like at the start of, before we started recording this, do you want me to keep doubting you in the future as well, or is this?
No, I think we'll accept your apology if you put us first next year in your
okay,
right. So that way we can let you down. That way we can let you down for eternity. Now we'll lose a match, and you'll be let down truly.
I don't think that's going to happen at all. Obviously, we have a whole episode to get through,
Yes.
and there's a lot to talk about. And there'll be plenty of time for championing things at the end. But we'll. I feel like we need to crack on quite quickly because there is a lot to digest.
Let's get straight into it. No bullspit.
No, none of that. Well, let's start off with a nice, simple fight. Relatively, I think, because Riptide versus SawBlaze was kind of, I wouldn't say by the numbers. Riptide did get a good few smacks off on SawBlaze, but for the most part, I think SawBlaze had Riptide's number. It was fairly smooth sailing.
That's they did the same thing we did the jackpot for and you're on your side and you're a 4-wheel drive vertical spinner, and we're not going to help that back up because we're good, and stay there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, I think the interesting thing as well is it kind of got stuck against the wall, which is kind of, I know there's a lot of things going on with, unsticks and not unsticks, and I think there was a moment where Trey goes in, right? He let a look to see if it was touching the wall.
Oh, and it was not
Trey went
touching
in,
the wall. You could slide a piece of paper right through there.
and it was right in front of Jameson as well. So which is funny because it's the same thing that happened with Blip and Jackpot, but he was like, "Yep, nope, we're good."
That's none of that. Thank you.
You see the ref look down and think, "Is it the head? Can we do anything about this?" Nah, we'll just leave him there. It's
right. And
time.
Riptide has the answer to this, right? They have arms sitting over in the pit. They chose not to use them.
I called them out last week for this. It's just not used them.
I was going to say, this is very similar to kind of your Shremet, because I know you mentioned this before, Alex. You have the self-writers as a, primarily to have an extra get out, basically, if you get stuck, which we saw in the fight against Rotator, which was... Yeah.
I was going to say, I think often extra degrees of freedom cause extra headache in the pit, but it's fights like this that make me grateful that we have those to play with during matches. When you get into those sort of 1 in a million positions, to have that extra degree is super nice. So
yeah, it's one of those things where you really should take your bot into the shop and try to put it in every single conceivable position, because no matter how hard you try to not get into that position, it will find a way. Flat sides, slant sides are very, very tricky with robots because they just seem to find their way to just find a way and just stay static, and then all you got to do if you're JMO is just back off, and that's a free win. That's a free win straight through.
I'm getting flashbacks from a previous tournament now with getting stuck on the side. It's not great.
Yeah. It's not a totally free win. I think JMO was, just really bullying them around the match until that happened. So
it was a little scary for a little while because you have this huge chonker of a weapon on the front of Riptide, and that hits SawBlaze in the wrong way, as we may see in a later fight. It hits him in the wrong way. This fight could have gone completely the opposite direction, but JMO got really the first meaningful damage in this fight by getting that back right wheel, and then from there it just JMO does JMO things, and they just Riptide was kind of on the back foot mostly after that. But what a rookie season.
I know. I mean, I know there's been so many kind of contrasting stories with Riptide this season. I now no longer know what to believe with regards to Riptide anymore. But, you know, for me at least, you know, you've still got to pilot the thing. You've still got to drive it as aggressively as you can do. And Riptide itself has delivered some amazing hits. And, you know, to take it to a top 8 finish in your first year is just very, very creditable. And, but interesting to see where they get from here.
Yeah, they definitely got some pro tips with regards to like, put on lifting arms, get accepted, and take them off.
Yeah,
You guys are pros.
Yeah,
that's
they know exactly what they were
big
doing.
brain plays right there.
Yeah, and it does mean that
Not touching that.
SawBlaze makes its first ever semi-final, which
I know. He's got that huge chip off his shoulder.
definitely it was good to see as well. You know, you could see the relief after that fight as well. Like that was like it was like they won the thing. It was.
I know.
Yeah, is thrilled with it. Although I do feel like he was laying off a little bit with the weapon. I know they've put a post up about they were having issues with pulleys early on in the.
They're down to one left, weren't they?
Yeah, they're down to like their last pulley. So I imagine JMO is literally just taking it as careful as possible on that last pulley.
But he did some post-fight interview and interview stuff for the Tantrum fight last year, and they were like, "Yeah, we were going to dial it down, go for the win, conserve the parts for later in the tournament." And it sounds like we're doing the same thing here, just it worked out this time.
Yeah. You didn't let him touch him. You last year, did you? So.
And it is a TV show. I mean, but the thing is, you still want to be able to fight future fights. I totally get that, and that will come up later. So trying to let have your bot survive as opposed to maybe going for another hit or maybe let the clock run down. I'm gonna stop because I'm gonna start and I don't want to start.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yes, we will. We will indeed. I don't think there's really much more to add, so we'll move on to our next fight, which was a absolute driving masterclass. Dylan, I don't know. Do you take some performance enhancers before this, because it was genuinely incredible. Like, I don't think Cobalt touched him.
He did not touch him. Yeah, before the match, it wasn't scripted, right? It was literally, if we get hit once by Cobalt, anything can happen, right? You could just be annihilated in one hit. And so everything we're talking about is like, if we get hit once, we're done, right? And then to see that happen, it's like, all right, like, just don't let him hit you.
That easy, right? It's just
that easy, right? Well, to all the other BattleBots, other competitors out there, right? That's just how you beat Cobalt. You just don't let him hit you.
Genius play.
It was, honestly, as I said, it wasn't just a driving masterclass, and I imagine Matt was very frustrated after that, because we've seen what Cobalt can do this year. It's so damaging, and it was really starting to get ahead of Steve. He was starting to get used to the way the bot was controlling, and it didn't matter because over the wall he went, and that was that. And definitely not intentional out of the arena again.
No, I mean clearly not.
Never intentional looters.
Never.
Not that Tantrum has the most looters this season at all.
It was never intentional.
Not
once.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think all three of us did first robotics in high school, and one of the things in first is like practice was like a really big deal. Drive practice.
Oh, yeah.
So it is interesting when sort of our drivers are able to show off their ability to sort of avoid damage and get around the sides and stuff. And it's super awesome to see that in the box. And I don't know, I feel like it's, on the one hand, Tantrum definitely scraped by some of our matches, but on the other hand, like Tantrum was in a parking lot doing drills months before, well, maybe not months, but weeks before the event.
A couple weeks.
Yeah.
So like, we definitely put in time. We were doing drills, and I think that showed. So that was really nice.
Absolutely.
Right.
With the first robotics connection, like my team would always tinker more than drive, and I guess the results showed that. But
we haven't quite figured out that balance either.
It's all good. It was just this was just a wonderful match through and through. I really am sad I didn't get to see Cobalt hit you once. I would have liked to see how well your shell held up, but I'm sure you guys are really happy that you didn't have to go back into the pits with a mangled.
Right. Didn't we just have a conversation about conserving parts?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, that did happen.
At this point, Gigabyte has already kind of done some nasty damage, as we've seen, and Rotator as well was a pretty vicious fight in the end. I don't know how many spare bits of Tantrum you had left, but I imagine it was not waning, but it was getting less than what you had.
Oh, we had parts. We had parts still. Yeah, we were okay. So, yeah.
But But poor Matt Maxim, he'll have to come back. Maybe he'll come back next year. Who knows what he comes back with next year, honestly? Because now that he's been bitten by the spinner bug.
Yeah, he's a spinner guy now.
Because I imagine that Dave and Sam will be back next year with Cobalt.
I don't know.
Piloting it. You
No,
don't think so?
Cobalt was a full sale.
Yeah, I was
Really?
gonna say, yeah, John
Yeah.
bought
They're
it.
not intending.
Wow.
Not intending on taking it back.
Well, never mind.
There you go.
It's a US bot now. You know?
Wow.
Need to change that flag on the.
Got to get the
shoulder.
Union Jack off.
Yeah, definitely.
I know.
They're leaving that one out of respect for its origin.
Okay.
Fair.
It's rubber like Slammo in that respect.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but a good win for Tantrum. But making it to the semi-finals, was that like, particularly to Alex and Ginger here, was that kind of a relief to kind of match what you did last season, or was it kind of a, speak freely?
Right. Well, they asked earlier, what we thought would be. I think it was after the Malice match, right? It's like, oh, are you proud of what you did? Is everyone going to be happy, or do you have to match expectations? And it was like, I was lying through my teeth. It's like, yeah, we'll make it to semifinals again, guys, right? We're totally going to do that. And so it was a very, very happy relief when we actually made it there again, right? And I, for myself and Ginger, I think also, like, there's a rocky, road. It wasn't all smooth sailing, but that, like, we were able to take the robot, Tantrum, and not drop the ball, I guess, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that was the happy side. Now I don't know if it's less happy, but I mean, look. First of all, we need to acknowledge the fact that you got 2 robots in the top 8, which is an unbelievable achievement. I know we mentioned this to you guys last time. You were here literally 2 weeks ago, but the fact that you actually went and did it is kind of mind-boggling to me.
My funny one here is anybody being like, "Oh, you're so lucky." I'm like, "Yeah, we tripped and somehow went 12-1."
Right.
Literally,
Yeah.
right? just good fortune, Accidentally won 12 fights. I mean, it's just a sensational achievement. But this fight, I've never seen particularly in this tournament, Jake be so aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And did that kind of catch you off guard, Aaron, a little bit?
Well, it's kind of funny because some people there's a picture before the event, before the finale, that had Blip between Hydra and the wall, and like, Hydra got over there that fast. I'm like, no, that was Blip getting to his square that fast and then being on the wrong side of him. It was kind of funny because it's like, with how Hydra usually plays, it's, you got the one flip on us, and then we started Magikarping around, and then we're in the corner, and he's trying to get to us to flip us more, but he can't. So we get like 2 or 3 self-righting attempts before he's even able to get to the corner. In terms of Drake being aggressive here, which I still have the joke that Blip got in more flips than Hydra in this fight.
Yes, I mean, you're not wrong.
Yep.
But yeah, he, like, the ground game beat us, caught the corner, got us flipped once. Then after that, we had a wheel pop loose, and also we added little butterfly wings in the back we're anticipating going flying some cushion, and we're dumb and didn't test self-righting in the test box enough.
Yeah.
So where we knew it's self-right, wasn't getting it anymore. So Magikarp mode engaged, and that's the results of that.
I was worried in the Rusty fight. There was one point where I think you guys did get flipped over in that fight, and there was some
overhaul fight. We flipped
or
ourselves
the
over
overhaul
twice.
fight. Excuse me. Yeah, where you it was very similar to like old school BattleBots T- in the Nurse Labs boys, where that bot was so powerful with its flips, it would flip itself completely over, and then each time,
But it's that plus a gyroscope.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was all that weird like motion. It was incredible.
So
to
Physics happened. Physics happened. That's all we need to know.
Yeah. So Hydra got us. I can, we won't be losing wheels in the future, and Blip now self-rights happily.
Yes.
Like, just boom, back on wheels. So it's like, all right, both of those things were taken care of. Lickety split after the event.
I mean, to take a new concept as far as you guys did.
Yeah, we can't complain.
I was going to say, like, a top 8 with, obviously, you did it last year with Tantrum, but, to do it twice this year with, a robot that you didn't know was going to maybe perform as well as it did do. Tantrum was almost a known quantity. I say almost because, it did it once, but could it do it again, sort of thing. It's not. It wasn't a consistent high-end machine, whereas now, obviously, it is. Blip, very different. How satisfying was it, especially for yourself, because obviously you started with a flipper as well, to kind of give it another crack, and it worked?
That's the thing. Yeah, so I credit a lot of this one making up the learning curve a fair amount and having a somewhat stable of parts we know are good.
Mhm.
But then the team, like the process of Blip all the way through, we put down the milestones we knew we had to hit, built out things, built one flipper, tested it, got to the point where we're happy with it. If we couldn't launch above a certain bar, we weren't going to bring it. And some of the work done by Dylan and Brian and co, just to make it actually hit that level of reliability, is I think the biggest thing to credit here, because we were able to take a weapon and then after it proved that it was happy, which was its own level, like holy crap, it's happy. It was wrap it into Tantrum drivetrain and the next level of the hoop and ground game tech. So
very good.
we weren't totally caught by surprise, but it was still caught by surprise. There's a lot going on in there.
Yeah, of course,
For sure.
It does mean Blip's story is over for this season. I'm hoping it'll be back. If there's a
Well, they
season
just said they fixed a couple things for the next time.
Well, this
so
is true. I'm
Oh,
putting,
yeah,
I'm putting two
I
and two
have some
together.
opinions on arena things they should do,
Oh,
but
I can't think
we'll-
what those
we'll
might
get
be
there.
related to.
we'll get
but-
there, and I mean that may be a talking thing for us in the future, Sam. You know, if we have
Yeah.
anything planned down the road, let's think tank that.
Absolutely. Well, I fear the time has come.
We return to controversy corner again, don't we?
Oh, we absolutely do. And well, it was specifically that
Controversy zip code.
That
More than just a corner.
far corner of the box certainly is controversial. So
It's the same one again.
I know, as Cobalt and Whiplash. So, Witch Doctor and Minotaur.
Yep.
Oh,
First thing I want
boy.
to say is this is not on the teams. It's
No.
not. It's not at all. So
And
let's leave them alone.
Well, another thing I kind of want to say is if anyone out there listening sent any horrible messages to either team or any of the judges, I want you to click off now and never come back, because it's not on. You know, like these guys have put in hundreds of hours of work, thousands and thousands of dollars of, you know, time and materials and whatever else, and a little bit of respect would go a long way. Just, you know, I understand frustration. You know, it is frustrating. You know, I'm sure it's frustrating for the teams, but
Yeah.
Come on, you could do better than that, you know.
Yeah.
We can be better as a community than what has happened in the last few days.
Correct.
That is 100% certain.
Correct.
But in any case, lots happened since these two last met.
It has. Another thing
Yeah.
I kind of want to bring up as well is the fight before they got stuck on the wall was unbelievably good. Like some of the hits that Minotaur were giving out to Witch Doctor was like flying through the air and backwards as well, with, you know, Witch Doctor hitting Minotaur. It was incredible. Like the amount of energy going on in that arena was just staggering.
That first minute was phenomenal.
Yes.
No other word for it.
No, not at all. And then things happen. Witch Doctor hits Minotaur onto the upper deck, and Minotaur doesn't lose its wheel initially, but it falls out as it comes back off the deck. Witch Doctor tries to charge in, misses, and hits the wall.
And stays there.
And stays there. Now, as we discussed last week with Matt, you know, you can have an unstick when the robots are safe, and in this case, the powers that be deem it to be so. The issue then comes after this, and it's kind of during this as well, because Minotaur kind of felt that they should have had the opportunity to go and attack Witch Doctor while they were stuck, because they had some movement. It was kind of
and even if they didn't, Sam, this is the point where I'm surprised that BattleBots doesn't stick to their guns more when they write things on paper. There's a rule specifically for unsticks, and it is rule 7.5.13, where if at any time during a match a robot or a multi-bot segment becomes stuck, it cannot free itself after 20 seconds. Referees can call a timeout. You can see unedited footage from when Witch Doctor gets stuck to when the timeout happens. Only 10 seconds have passed.
Yeah,
So
I had it at 10 on when watching it earlier on tonight.
So
I do wonder as well with that, like maybe they thought that Minotaur was like stuck as well, because Minotaur wasn't moving freely. I can only assume that could have been the case.
then maybe
as well.
we should remove the pot of the box that blocks the view of the people trying to view the robots.
Yeah, you know, that whole
Remember
shelf.
Matt talked
Yeah.
about that last week?
Possibly, yeah.
Well, actually, I would rather remove the wall between the teams because
That's it's difficult though, because that was a COVID thing, and I know it wasn't as prevalent
but
this
it's
season, but
really-
it's still
it's really
Yeah.
hurting things. The referees can't talk to each other. The teams can't talk to each other. It's the biggest hazard isn't even in the arena. It's outside of it, in my opinion. But I don't know. This is very tricky. They call a timeout.
Mhm.
Trey goes in with his boomstick to unlock Witch Doctor. Apparently, it took a really long time to get them unstuck from the shelf. But they get them unstuck. Minotaur's missing a wheel.
let play
And then
resume.
Let play
Well,
resume.
And for this section, I don't really lay anyone to blame, because
No.
ultimately
It's pretty consistent.
it's difficult, because ultimately it should have gone one of two ways. I feel like Witch Doctor should have been told to engage, or Minotaur should have been counted out. And
Yep.
sometimes communication errors happen. Like, it happens in every single sport under the sun. Like, it doesn't matter if you're watching soccer or anything. Like, bad calls can be made. Mistakes happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there's no AI to kind of
No.
ref the matches. You can't. There is a human element in everything, and
Absolutely.
this is just one of those unfortunate cases, I think.
I'm trying to find the one rule. There's one rule for being knocked out due to avoidance, and I had brought this up in a previous podcast, I thought, where Hydra's avoiding Ribot, but Ribot can't speedily get over to Hydra, so instead of the robot avoiding being counted out, it's the robot that can't move out of its circumference or is crab walking that gets counted out.
Mhm.
Yes, that's consistent, but is it right?
I
On a
think
TV standpoint,
I think you nailed it earlier in that
Okay.
this is a communication issue
Mhm.
Yes.
between the refs. And
Definitely.
so how they fix that in the future, as far as we understand it, it was one ref saying one thing, the other ref saying the other thing, and they
Mhm.
weren't able to communicate. And so whether that's
Mhm.
they need headsets, whether they
I was
have
gonna
a
say,
third
like-
ref, a head
Mm.
ref
Mhm.
that manages that, because I also don't think that you should be able to influence the match as a driver or a team, right? By
Yeah.
talking back to the ref, right? Like in most
Mhm.
sports, that's not allowed, right? And then
Yeah.
you can get ejected from a
Yeah,
sport or a
you
game.
can plead
for
your
that.
case, but like not influence the game, because that's yeah,
Correct.
This was
Yes.
kind of getting as messy as like Abu Dhabi last year.
yeah, in the
Like,
F1. Yeah.
Directors talking to
Here we go.
them. Yeah.
Right.
So the rule itself is knockout due to engagement avoidance. Referee believes that an operator is deliberately avoiding their engagement of their robot. Blah blah blah. The referee will notify the operator that they should make physical contact or otherwise engage. If they do not comply, referee can declare that the team's lost a knockout. We need to figure out when that is.
Well, the funny part is the ref that would do that to Witch Doctor is the one that's telling them they're going to get counted out.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
other issue, isn't it?
Are-
Like,
are-
they-
Yeah.
Do we have concrete information that
Correct.
the ref
John-
was saying that? John
Yes.
was saying
Yes,
that to them?
John did make a public statement, and he
Yes.
posted saying that
Okay.
was what happened.
I apologize. I've been away, so I'm a little
No, it's
behind on the
okay.
news.
Yeah.
Direct from
There's
the
not
zebra's
much
mouth.
to get caught
Yeah.
up on anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a nice quiet episode. Nothing happened in this.
Mhm.
No, nothing happened. I will say, Pete beforehand saying we should keep an eye out for Minotaur driving with one wheel drive was very foreshadowing.
Mm,
It was just very interesting.
yeah, it's a shame as well, because as I said, the fight up to the bit where Witch Doctor decides I'm going to eat the deck was amazing, and
Also, I
Okay.
did get a picture from Daniel of the actual axle that broke, and it's a 1-inch chromoly hex that's holding the shaft that snapped. But that same
Wow.
axle had been, this is its second season, as far as like it's seen some nonsense.
okay,
Yeah.
And
Still.
the most previous robot it fought was Endgame, so it's like all right,
yeah,
but it's still
Yeah.
that's a big axle to just go
Yeah.
dink.
Yeah.
definitely.
It's a tough
I've
material, too.
never seen like Minotaur lose a wheel in that fashion. Like, we've seen him get like, I don't know, a wheel die, but not just like straight up fall out the chassis.
No,
It's just
No.
they've not lost a wheel full stop, have they? It's-
no. It was, and then
They're used to pulling wheels off other robots.
Exactly.
exactly. Looking at you, Bronco. God bless.
Yeah.
I will actually bring up the scorecard as well here, because this is
Yeah.
the other kind of factor. The fact that Witch Doctor was given the win, and a lot of people was like,
Yeah.
how does that work? Well, people say, okay, well, Minotaur was the aggressor because they were trying to go towards them. The issue there is, for half the match, so was Witch Doctor. You can't just not give them no points. So they have to get a point somewhere, and ultimately they cause more damage. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
for me, it's just, I think the right robot won. However, it's a shame it's one of those where no one wins again. Like, Minotaur lost ultimately.
Yeah.
The show kind of loses because it was a fight that's now mired in controversy and is going to be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Witch Doctor, they've had so many messages, bless them. You just know because they've made that big post the other day about some of the things they've received, and it's a shame. And
but the people that they're sending those aren't fans.
No,
they're not. They're the people that show up at sports games and yell at the refs and then leave.
Yeah,
possibly drunk.
Yeah,
the ones that want the fight, but not amongst the robots.
Yeah. if there's a lot of truth to any of the things, I actually got stomach sick reading things that I heard happen in crowds at this event after that fight.
Yeah, so. It's not pleasant reading.
No.
There's a post on Reddit about it.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I think we'll get into this later when we fight Hydra and talk about that. But I think we've also received a fair share of comments, and so I'm sure Andrea and Mike have received even more. So I definitely empathize with them and agree that they don't deserve any of it.
It's just wrong on so many levels. Come on.
And it doesn't help that in a way, from what I've read, a lot of people kind of view them as the darlings of BattleBots a little bit, where they're a big name, very notable team. They've been around since the beginning of the reboot, so there's something going on there, you could say. But it's come on, man.
It's people reading far too much into it.
It's enough. Yeah,
it's a silly sport at the end of the day, and it should be treated as such.
Yeah. I think their reputation is well deserved. They put so much effort towards branding and towards their educational content and their YouTube channel. I mean, they truly are an incredible team. So I think, and
they've been around for years, back during when IQ was happening, when BattleBots wasn't on TV for the longest time. So
it's a shame.
In any case,
it is a
lot of respect to both teams involved. This did not need to happen.
Yeah, and I sympathize as well because ultimately I can understand why Minotaur would be frustrated that they lost because they felt like they wanted to fight.
Oh, Daniel's emotion, man! And people are giving him stuff for that too.
Heat at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. He's had a really rough year, first of all, and I know you can say, okay, let's not give him the excuse for the longest period of time, but still, it matters a lot.
You have to think at the time period as well. It's 2 weeks, isn't it?
2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Very, very raw emotionally. So.
Yep.
Bit of space for those two teams would be quite nice. I think. I think they could probably. I
think everyone deserves a break.
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good season for Minotaur as well. Credits and that fight with Endgame will go down in the history books as just something incredible.
Glorious.
Well, you mentioned it, Ginger. Oh boy.
It gets less fun. How does it get less fun as we get closer to the nut? How?
It's confusing. Just Aren, show the nut, please. We need to see the nut.
It's going to be there you go. Much better.
For reference, this is in the shop where we build most of the robot stuff. That's why it's up here.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm the one waving it around.
Nice and safe.
Yeah, that's Mountain View, by the way, not Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Or
Ginger's out in Cambridge. Alex in San Diego.
That's where I am.
He makes a bunch of stuff there. We're a bit spread out right now.
It's all good.
This fight again was very interesting. Now, for me, again, this is another case where Jake tried to play the Obi-Wan tactic of I have the high ground, I'll let you come to me. It kind of worked. And when I first watched this fight, I also, because Aren, I know you posted earlier today, I thought Hydra won this. And I've watched it back a couple of times, and the more I watch it, the more I think, actually, Tantrum did do quite a lot, and it's the damage that carries the weight. It's another case again where ultimately you can't dock yourselves points from Tantrum for being aggressive, or you can't dock control points. Ultimately, they have to go somewhere, and
you can't knock the scoring system for the way that it is. It's damage heavy, and yes, that can hurt a bot that can't visibly damage the other. And this is this endless conversation / argument of how are we supposed to do this? Do we just get rid of the damage category and just how well do you use your weapon in a fight? And
but also
gauge that somehow.
It came a bit to a head here with Hydra facing a robot that doesn't care about getting flipped in the air.
Yeah,
correct. Right, and I'll add too. Right, it's we have a scoring criteria. The
Yes.
judges obviously didn't necessarily agree because it was a split decision, right? It's an
Right.
inherently the judges didn't agree, right?
Mhm.
But that you have a judging criteria and that they're trying their best to follow that judging criteria. If you get
Yes.
3 other people that are involved in the sport or not involved in the sport to take those seats as judges,
Mhm.
they're also going to be told to follow these judging criteria.
Mhm.
So it's not on the judges, right? They might disagree on certain parts of it, but that the judging criteria, like you said, favors damage.
Mhm.
And that they can change that. The sport has evolved, right?
Yes.
These are the 2021 judging criteria, not the 2022 judging criteria. And I
Mhm.
hope not the 2022 judging criteria, right? It's an
Yeah.
evolving sport, and every year is going to have a different like weight to things. And so, next year, if they have a different judging criteria, they might judge it in Hydra's favor with those watching the exact same match, but with a different judging criteria.
Yeah, I want to stick in one here is one more thing as well, that these categories for the judging scorecards, they cap out. And I think that's also important to remember, is that like even if a robot is so much outrageously more aggressive than the other, or causes so much more damage than the other, it still caps out at 3 and 5 points respectively, no matter how broken the robot comes out of the box or how much you ran circles around the other person. It still caps out at a set value. So just because one looks at the eye test that it had won, the scorecards are going to show that it's that's just the way that it's set up. Now, sure, like you said, Alex, if they go back and go to a committee room and over drinks, maybe just figure out, hey, let's chill out, let's relax, let's figure this out, and say, hey, this season maybe there's a couple decisions, and this happens with every sport. Don't even get me started on the catch rule in football. But in any case, they'll go back, and it's a young sport, so they'll figure it out.
Every year it gets slightly more clear, and I feel like one day, many years from now, there will be a definitive rule set, and it will all kind of make sense universally. But ultimately, I think the right decision was made. It is such a shame for Jake and Hydra, because the fact that they kind of came back from a very low, getting beaten the way
almost like you would have expected. This is what you would have expected of him last year with his huge season and his 1 seed, and he's going to just boss the tournament. So
yeah, and he got to this
time
point
around.
Yeah, anybody who said Hydra's not worthy of the top 32 is an idiot.
Yeah,
They're 100% worthy of the top 32.
Yeah,
bumpy road to get there, but
yeah, rough regular season.
Just took the scenic route,
Now I have to say, kind of before I kind of show off the scorecard again with this one, like the celebrations after this fight. I mean, Alex, your face was a picture in when the decision goes up. It's just the relief and like the kind of shock. It was like palpable. It was great.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, right? After the match, I also had the exact same thought that we lost, right? And so when they heard, I mean, they even showed me, right? It's like, sitting there with my arms up, like, we're it's over, right? But then we're standing up there, and you're sitting thinking about it some, while the judges are also thinking about it, and then eventually they announced it's a split decision. It's like, well, I guess it's closer than I thought. And then when they did announce it, it was a relief. A welcome, surprise.
Well,
a welcome surprise.
I think it's interesting as well, because both yourself and Ginger, throughout the kind of, especially the tournament fights, you've been very cool and collected. After the Gigabyte fight that was so close, but it was kind of like, we thought we had it. This one was like, oh my god, we won! It was just so good. Yeah, exactly, and Tantrum through to the final.
Yeah,
which was
it's nice to see, isn't it?
Uncharted waters at this point. We'll get to the final obviously in a little bit, but this is the scorecard, by the way. Again, you kind of see what we were talking about. You can't just not give aggression points, and even ultimately you have to give the damage points to Tantrum because it has an inherently more aggressive weapon. It's not a
let's not say, because it I don't know if it's more aggressive per se. I think it's more flashy in a way, where like you can actually see things happening to the other robot, whereas opposed to Hydra, who knows what's going on internally, but they don't take the robots apart inside the battle box and say, oh, this move. You're not going to do that. You're not going to sit these you're not going to put these robots into like a laser thing and like
scan them afterwards.
Exactly. You're not going to do that. It's not feasible.
That's it. We very much have a vested interest in the outcome of this fight as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because if you watch it, it's almost like a flipper playing an almost perfect fight.
Mhm.
And
Like, what else could Hydra have done?
Yeah.
Well, and
well.
that's the thing. We've went back in that one. It's like, all right, they min-max stuff for ground game, but that makes it so they can't be as aggressive. They hit every floor seam. We're not doing that with Blip. Like we're trying to get around those types of problems in terms of knowing that likely there's a chance we don't do damage. So we need to make sure. And like the whole thing still right now heavily biases spinners. Like
Yes.
it's BattleBots trying to rip people apart. Flippers are fun, but if you want to win the thing, showing up with a flipper is hard mode. Like, so it's interesting to watch this, and also like talking to Jake afterwards and talking to a whole bunch of other builders.
Definitely, and I've watched Jake's video earlier today. I hope he does bring Hydra back, because I know he kind of, I don't know if he's whether he's like trolling as he's wanted to do that. Oh, I'm not going to bring Hydra back, but I sincerely hope it does, because it just
this one's going to hurt a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
that's understandable. You get to a semifinal, no matter what the case, no matter how you lose, it's still going to hurt.
It's still the best performance of Waiachi like, as a team in
on the
reboot
reboot
era. Yeah,
it's incredible.
you know,
It's
and
also something.
ultimately, you know, the way that his personality is on screen, you know, you need to have a good robot to kind of match that, and Hydra is bloody wonderful, and you know, I hope he keeps bringing it back and chuck some more robots around.
Yeah.
just sticks the vert in instead, you know.
Yeah.
Please don't tempt him.
Yeah. So
I hope not.
I don't want to like bring it up, but Ginger, you brought it up earlier. I want to bring a little focus to anything that you've guys been that has been targeted towards you, because I'm sure it's not wonderful and it's totally unwarranted. But just to clear the air of
my general comment is, if you're going to send something really mean, be creative about it at least.
Come on,
think
Aren.
Some of them are just.
So remember to direct all of those to Aren. He's asking for
Why don't
creativity.
you? I disagree a little with Aaron, so why don't you send those to his personal account? Don't send them to me. I think maybe just avoid that entirely.
Yeah.
Creativity aside. Yeah, I mean, I think it sort of sucks. I think I personally have always experienced a lot of imposter syndrome, especially being in a field that is not dominated by people that look like me. And so I know that comes from myself. That's something that I feel, and it's one of my own insecurities. And so I think in the beginning, when we first got messages saying like, you don't deserve anything, you don't deserve any of this, it definitely stung. I think especially feeling like I don't belong, feeling like I'm very new to the sport compared to a lot of people. It definitely sucked, right? Because I really, really am excited by BattleBots and care about this and really just had the best time ever. And so to hear that message is disheartening. But I think it's important to keep in mind, like you all mentioned, that those aren't really fans. It's really, truly a very, very small, loud minority.
Yep.
And actually, we hosted an event at the Tech Museum in San Jose, which I was fortunate enough to attend. And everybody at the event was so lovely and so welcoming and so warm. And we had elementary school kids, kindergartners. I mean, just to hear how excited they were and how much they loved the show, I think really made up for all of that, and showed that like that really isn't what's out there. And it's just a small thing. And so, yeah, I guess that's sort of how it's been. And I think the sort of spin I've put on it is having haters means we've truly reached a level of stardom, right?
That's the way to think.
That's what celebrities say. So, I'll take it.
Yeah, no, I just can't imagine, because with me, I actually went on holiday over the weekend just to get out of my house. I like the fact that I felt sick. I can't imagine. So it's just, I'm glad you guys have come out on top of it. And it's just, I think it's important to talk about that, just to kind of get that out there. Where, I mean, people will say what they're going to say. I mean, you have keyboard warriors everywhere on every single niche, everywhere. But yeah, so it's all that was really good to hear. So
Definitely. I mean, you mentioned Ginger. Obviously, you are in a field it's a male dominated field ultimately.
Yeah.
And the comments that made me laugh the most were the fact that people were giving Judge Lisa a lot of abuse as
I wonder why.
Well, it's funny because she was the one that went for Hydra. So
Exactly.
honestly, it's people baffle.
I don't think they know how to count. I think that's the
Well,
issue.
most people don't see beyond the nose on their face. So I mean, that's
yeah.
oh, well.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
Anyway.
that's Yeah, enough negativity. I think that's kind of the end of the controversy for the episode. I hope.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
I hope that on both accounts, BattleBots kind of learns that they're not learned their lesson. That's kind of the wrong way of putting it, but like learns lessons for the future of the show. And ultimately, if you're one of those idiots who've either sent any team a message over this weekend other than congratulations, then just you're an idiot.
Buzz off.
Yeah, and sorry, if I can just end on one more thing.
Sure.
I feel like I don't really get an opportunity to talk about it.
Go for it.
These messages are few and far between.
Okay.
So I don't really mean anything specifically, but I have seen comments talking about me just being a spokesperson or being a captain. I mean, everybody's heard things like that.
Ginger is the one in this group that didn't almost fail out of college, right? Being Aren and myself, right? Ginger is going and getting a PhD at MIT, right, on an NHS fellowship. That's like such a huge achievement and more than like Aren or I could have ever done. So she deserves it. She's part of the team. She's building the robots there with us, and
and been with the team for years. Like Boxing King over in China. Like Ginger was the one
Tantrum 1, right? Season 3, Season 4, Season 5, Season 6, King of Bots. All three of us were there through this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyhow, I challenge my haters. Take me on because good luck.
Yep. I've raised one arm on the Lego Tantrum to cheer. If that's captured everything.
Just
the rotator fight. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Just like the robot runs circles around everybody.
Can we not talk about the rotator fight? I still have emotional scarring from once again.
I think why, Sam?
Yeah.
Nobody made a mistake with predictions, right?
Oops.
Oh, dear.
Right? As I say, I'm the new Steve.
It was Jevon.
I got this quarter mostly right, except at this point. Don't look at that. It's fine. Don't look at. Don't.
Yeah, I'm still looking back at Whiplash, thinking, oh, the deck. Oh no.
Yeah.
That's a trophy right there.
Oh wow! There it is. Oh, is that the bit that you knocked off at the kind of the front?
Knocked off. We were one
it was
bolt
so
away.
Close.
No,
it was good enough.
Right.
It was good enough to be knocked off.
I think Victor said he had to fish out like 14 broken heads from bolts.
Oh, there's a Cobalt fork as well. You've got all the bling today.
Nice.
Look at this.
Oh.
Aaron's
I know going back to that fight, it was still lovely just seeing all of those hits just damaging it enough to just not be able to get the ground game.
To scupper it.
Glorious.
Yeah.
And that's been the tricky part with Cobalt too, with how high that weapon's up on the robot. So, but hey,
yeah.
The fork game, we can talk about the fork game another time.
We can indeed. Well, enough negativity. Let's talk about some more good stuff. And Witch Doctor versus SawBlaze.
Well,
they had to fight at some point because this is the third year in a row they fought. Come
on.
In the tournament as well, which I find remarkable.
Quite a rivalry
stages as well.
I know. Interesting to see Witch Doctor go with a single disc as well. That thing was a destroyer.
We haven't seen
of
that
worlds.
since 2015. They haven't gone with a single disc.
16,
I don't think they have.
16.
No, 16 it was a double disc.
16 was double disc. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they just looked back at the
Rotator.
original Hexbug.
They had one disc
like this.
I don't remember that.
Anyway, this fight. I mean, poor SawBlaze just didn't get going at all. Like it's JMO's made two mistakes all season. One was against Endgame, and the other one was catching the floor in this fight. And
that's all you need against a four-wheel drive vert.
Apparently so. And
I've
Aaron?
heard these words from somebody. I can't think who.
Oh my goodness, this was and like some of the damage photos that SawBlaze have posted since then. Like it's unbelievable. Like some of the I mean, I know you guys did a number on SawBlaze last year, but this was like another level. It was crazy damage.
Tantrum was gentle, relative, very, very gentle.
It's a polite lover, compared to these major hits.
Sorry, Ginger.
You get taken off the TV at that rate.
Yeah, we're off. Sorry, Sam. Demonetized this time.
Yeah. Oh dear. Never mind. What a season from SawBlaze as well. Like there was not a fight where I went into it just thinking, SawBlaze is just going to win, isn't it? Because it's JMO and he's just that good. But Witch Doctor just turned it on in this fight when it really mattered. And you can say what you want. They had they've had some favourable fights. Rusty and Mammoth kind of suited them quite nicely. But SawBlaze is a robot that's literally beat them a year ago. That's not a favourable fight for them, and they turned up and they battered it.
It took 6 seconds and one oversteering mistake from JMO. Just it was basically over.
Didn't he? got caught by the floor in the first hit.
I'm trying to watch it back now. I don't think I ever caught that. He might have. Yeah, he did get caught on the floor. The very beginning, he got caught on the middle seam.
I've noticed this looking at like the later fights. The floor is a mess. Like later on, you can see.
But that's the risk you run running forks, David. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Was
This
it-
is true.
Witch Doctor, had their own forks. They chose not to run it.
But they're plastic forks, remember?
They are indeed. But
No,
ultimately,
they had real forks. They had real forks.
okay.
Yeah, like dinner
Yeah.
forks.
Beyond the dinner forks. They did have real forks. Mike did show me his forks, right?
Yeah. I think I saw them over on Instagram. He posted them
He
because
did.
they thought about running
He did
them.
post them, right?
Yeah.
Right.
They thought about
So-
running them in one of their previous fights, but ended up not doing so. But true, this was just one thing I'll remember from this fight, and I just saw it now, is the punt that happens from Witch Doctor that goes. It may have well as gone 40 yards down the field. It flies like a feather.
Arena. Yeah.
It's just, it was crazy. And the thing is as well, we've said already, but Witch Doctor, it may have had a fortune run, but it's just so dangerous. And we said kind of a couple of weeks ago, they've gone quietly about their business, slowly winning the fights. They didn't really notice them, kind of almost not dissimilarly to Tantrum, kind of just winning the fights kind of quietly and
Sneaky
just
good at the right times.
Exactly, and it kind of came to a head, and they eventually got their put their record back to positive against SawBlaze. They got the win and through to a second final for Witch
Two of the
Doctor,
last three,
which is crazy when you think about it. The form is just very, very cool, and credit to them. They earned this one. Say what you want about the Minotaur fight. This was
There's no gimmies. You could say you can pick all the fights that you want in the fight card nights. There's no gimmies in the bracket. Well,
there is. No, there's not. There's not. Even favorable matchups like Mammoth. Mammoth still has its.
Well, that's a special case where a bot wasn't able to get completed in time.
Yeah.
Where
correct.
I imagine next season, say Glitch comes back, I imagine something may happen between the two of them.
You can imagine that being a possible main event.
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But Witch Doctor going through, and they fight the little orange boy. Now, this is a completely, random question, and it probably has no bearing. Do you get told which square you go into? Because you're in the blue square for every single fight, and is it a good luck charm? I don't know.
It wasn't every single fight.
In the bracket, you were,
in the
I think.
bracket. Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
right. Because I'm trying to think. Because I'm just spatially trying to position myself right now.
Mhm.
But it's no. You get told when you're walking up.
Okay.
Or no, when they announce the fights. When they announce the fights, they actually also have it.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
Yeah,
you have
maybe
like a
it's
day's notice.
It's
Yeah, but
rigged.
it is good.
It's rigged.
Squares
And
are rigged.
Yeah, and with the boxing comparison, the red square is usually for a returning fighter, and blue square is usually for the challenger. So there's something
the
there.
orange complements the blue. Remember?
It does.
There
It's
you go.
complementary color, like purple, yellow, red, green works.
Yeah.
Once again, a Dylan driving masterclass. The guy just turned it on and just didn't give Witch Doctor a chance. I think that what happened on the first hit, because underneath Witch Doctor, it's kind of, is it high centered on something? What happened?
Yeah, I think this speaks to Tantrum's unique weapon in a sense. We are a vertical spinner, but I think
Mhm.
different in the way that, for instance, Witch Doctor is. A lot of our hits aren't as sparky or flashy. They're sort of softer, and we like to take bites out of people and really chew on them in a sense. And so what happened with Witch Doctor is we just got right under them, sort of tickled at their belly pan, and actually, tickle is,
Aggressive tickling.
Kind of a rough tickle.
I was going to ask, how heavy is Tantrum's weapon? Because it is
Well,
fairly
he'll-
hefty, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we peeled a whole flap back, and that flap was sort of bent down and high centering.
Yeah,
Like you
Tantrum's
roll
disc is
aluminum foil.
18 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the belly pan of Witch Doctor is 1/4 inch aluminum. Which,
Yeah.
if you're not planning on getting hit there, that's fine.
But when you
But
do,
in this case, it grabbed a corner and peeled it, so it's they're stuck in
Yeah,
debris that's bolted securely
Which-
to the robot.
Yeah.
Aluminum is quite soft, so I think a chew
Yes.
is not the worst verb.
Which is interesting, Ginger. You bring that up with aluminum. There is a pre-fight interview where Andrea talks before their Minotaur fight, Minotaur is just made out of aluminum. It's not really well armored, and Well, oops. Your robot's made out of aluminum too, and
There's more foreshadowing.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's pretty sick foreshadowing. Once you see this fight, you're like, oops. But how would she have known? It's just such a strange hit, I mean, but it plays to your bot's advantages, and it worked to perfection. And you guys just nibble away for the rest of the fight, and Witch Doctor really doesn't have any say in what happens for the remainder of this fight after that. Nope. Throws a chain, and after that, it's really just curtains at
There's
that point.
one hit where you could just see the proper base plate of Witch Doctor. You could just see the amount of damage on that. And it's incredible, the amount of hits and scrapes and just damage on that base plate.
Yeah, and the fact that you guys avoid their you avoid their weapon just about for the whole fight. I'm sorry, but
well, Witch Doctor ejecting a chain is a solid offensive move against Tantrum.
Oh yeah,
as we've seen.
It's true. It's true. And I want to give another congrats to Dylan, right? I think that he did an awesome job this year, and it was really funny, having to bite your tongue after the Gigabyte mishap, right? When he drove into the dive bomb, right? And it was an error, but Dylan immediately was kicking himself after it, and I think his reflection afterwards is what you saw in the last 4 fights. So.
Absolutely. Now, the only thing about this fight, from a Tantrum perspective, I'm a bit disappointed in, and it is only one thing. I would have loved to have seen the big fists that you've got on here and the flamethrowers in the middle of the arena celebrating. That's the only thing.
Just the full cheer,
Okay. We'll consider it for next year.
Okay, when you're in the final next season, you have to have the big fist and the flamethrowers on, because that's the only thing that's going to be better.
Alex, will you make a promise? Are you going to make?
I'm not gonna hold to that one.
No,
when you're
0%.
But
you're asking too much of them.
It's
Sam.
on record now, though. That's the thing. It's on record now.
It's on record.
Yeah.
We respect the crap way too much out of Witch Doctor to put any ancillary joke nonsense in there.
You say that, right? But so you didn't see the fists or the flamethrowers this season, right? And so one of the design things we are trying to do is opening up the window for which we will be able to use those. So it's not only like these fists, right? So making them lighter, more reliable, and less likely to screw ourselves is the goal. And so that will make them more likely to come out in like maybe some of the preseason fights or whenever we feel like it, right?
Yeah, bit more of a. Well, as I say, it was the smallest nitpick, but it's only because the fight went so well for you guys that I
mean, it's still glorious that you could just raise your hands up and just.
That's my favorite part of that entire match.
So
count out.
Yeah, it's just so good.
Other robots can't do that.
They can't.
No. It's your equivalent of T-posing to show dominance,
Yeah. Tantrum posing.
Yeah, I suppose you post, isn't it?
Yeah. I have seen a couple things too about a Witch Doctor being counted out towards when they're in the corner like that. Like, oh, maybe they were counted a little too soon, even though they were kind of sort of moving. Thing is, when you're near that door buffer zone, a count out's going to come faster anyway. That's actually written in the rules in 759, and you can read it. The referees will start a count if the operator cannot comply to move away from the door buffer zone, which is what they call the out of the arena zones. So there you go. There's another one.
Can you tell Steve is the brains of the group and does the research, right?
I try.
You put my notes to shame this week.
You guys do notes, honestly.
I try.
But all of this means Tantrum is the champion. I mean, can I
started out flipping burgers?
Well,
I can fit it up now. There we go.
I was going to say, 4 seasons ago, we see this strange. Literally, it's the best thing as well, because for those that don't know, BattleBots.
Oh my god, this picture.
2018 started airing in the UK literally just this week gone, and on the same day that Tantrum won season 6 was the first episode we see Tantrum back in 2018 fighting Battle Royale with cheese, and
it's like looking in a mirror.
Yeah,
right. Right. I actually met with some friends yesterday when we were watching. They have no idea about BattleBots. They just know it's something, this robot thing I do. And they got excited because obviously we win the whole thing. And so since, I had the DVR up, we watched through the final episode and I'm like, oh, just for shits and giggles, let's go back to season 3 and let me show you what our first flipper looked like. And so they're sitting there like, oh, wow, it looks pretty good. And they had just watched, Hydra flip us, 15 feet in the air. And so we're like, going under that burger, and they're like, and then boop, like
Oh my god.
4 to 8 inches in the air, and I think they understood the glow up.
Like, do you look back and think, my god, like within that short amount of time, like the evolution, like until like it maybe even last year, like no one really considered Tantrum an elite tier machine, which obviously now is because Ginger, you even said. When you were last time, you were interviewed and they said, "Oh, how does it feel to be a joke bot?" I mean, the joke is definitely on them now.
Yeah.
It must feel pretty nice.
Question: Tantrum Hexbug when? I know it's going to be real hard.
Sibling
when is
set.
the dual pack?
The sibling set. Come
I've
on.
been pushing them for the family pack. Tantrum. and
That would be
Blip.
awesome.
Yeah.
Do we need to bring up the octopus again? The reversible octopus.
No, there is some movement on that, but we'll
Really?
keep an eye out. Keep an eye out. I didn't want to step on Dave's toes with his rusty plushie. So at the conclusion of that, we're hoping to get something out there. So go support Dave, though.
Yes,
Go
please.
get your rusty.
Support
plushie.
all the builders. Hello.
You
I mean,
pushed it.
No,
all
correct,
doing.
yeah.
Go to all their shops, buy all their merch. Go if you feel bad for teams this week, go buy some of their shirts and stuff.
Yeah, my Tantrum t-shirt is in the post at the moment. I got a notification this morning.
Go put your money in the places where you want them to make things for you on TV. That was a sentence.
Word's good, Steve. Word's good.
Why use many word when few word do good?
Yes.
Something like that.
My other kind of passing question, I suppose, is like after last season, you guys got a top 4 finish. It was an incredible run. Was there kind of an element where you thought, okay, we've missed our shot here because, like, people are going to expect Tantrum to be as good as it was last season? Was there kind of a, not a regret almost, but like, was there a kind of, it'd be nice to do that, but not expecting it sort of thing?
Going into this season, no joke. I just didn't want to like lose every single match, right? So whether that's as us as captains or as the robot, did it get lucky? I don't know. I mean, I think we did everything we needed to right last year, but that like going into that first Malice fight, I didn't take any fights for granted, right? It was, I just want to win a fight, feel pretty good about, what we're doing. And hey, we have 2 robots, like, we're all working on both the robots. And so it's like, if we do well, all the Blip team's happy, Blip does well. So,
That's one of the other funny parts here. Yeah. One of the other funny parts here is like after Hydra beat Blip, this is the end of 2 weeks, and we're all like running down the energy hill, right? And it was like, all right, everybody's Tantrum time. Let's go.
Yep.
What was that like, Aren? Do you like joining a team?
Well, I spent about half an hour trying to figure out how to plug myself into the process without messing it up. And then I realized there was no process.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We didn't make it to the semifinals off of no process, Aren. You have to trust. You have to trust.
I know what
the
I saw.
process.
Let's keep the family bickering off the air, please.
Yeah, I think we should kind of pin the fight for next season. Like, Greg Bucket, first main event of the season, Blip versus Tantrum.
It almost happened.
No, we will be happy to face each other. Like that. That'll just be fun.
Yeah, that's funny you say main event. I think Tantrum's ironically only main event that we were given all season was the literal finals of BattleBots.
Yeah, which is crazy.
That was funny.
And of course, I know we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. You only got 2 main season fights. I can now, kind of see where you're like, oh, it was fine. It didn't really matter in the end for us. He was quite happy.
It works out, right?
I still want everyone to have the same fight.
Of course.
I think it's more fair, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, on the point of the main event thing, the one of the funniest moments was going into that final fight. There's different interviews, right? If you're doing the main event, you sit in the director chair, right? And they ask you questions there, and it's a much more formal process.
Yeah.
So we go over there for that interview, and they're like, okay, just go ahead and sit down like you normally do for these, and it's just like, we've never been here. And they just looked at us and they're like, huh? Like, for all these seasons, all these seasons, and then the final of the, of the tournament was the first time we sat down in those directors' chairs.
Question more specifically, and it's okay if you can't answer. Have you been interviewed for a main event and have it not be televised as one?
Hey, other people have, haven't they? Ribot, obviously, for example.
That's what I'm getting at.
Not for us, but it does happen, right?
I did the sit down director's chair stuff before the Rusty fight. I don't know what they're planning on doing with that.
Main event Rusty versus Blip. That's what I was here for.
Right. And there's also international mains too. That's the other thing.
That's true, because it's split in the middle. That's why Farouk has that much longer intro on all those bots, because that's where the episode splits internationally. Got you.
Correct.
So
ultimately I think that pretty much sums everything up. So congratulations. I mean, what a remarkable season. And I need to kind of reevaluate my life choices and just back Tantrum.
Stop. Okay, don't beat yourself up anymore, Sam. I'm starting to feel bad.
Yeah,
it's fine. Like it's all.
We'll look after you, Sam. Don't worry.
It's just funny that it happened twice. It's just I should have learned my lesson.
Yourself, man.
Oh dear me. But and ultimately this is quite a cool thing for us. We've never done a interview with the incumbent champion before. And Little did we know we did it twice this season. So thank you so much for your guys' time. It's been a real joy.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us on. I think I want to conclude with, I love that you showed both versions of Tantrum here, because I think it really captures sort of our team ethos, what we believe in. And Tantrum's a flipper, but we tried a new mechanism. We, gave it a shot with something cool. And then with a spinner, we sort of wanted to steer away from static vert. It's still a vert, I'll admit to that, but it's got some flavor, some excitement, maybe performs a little different in the arena. And obviously with Blip, it's also a new flipper design. And so we really love BattleBots. The season definitely had bumps, but we're here for the evolution of the sport. We're excited to see how this opportunity brings new things, and that's like what we love, right? So we see it as a success, and we're super grateful to y'all to have this platform as well to sort of talk about things and how it went. So thank you for having us.
Anytime.
We're thankful for all the people that have showed up. I mean, this has been
I've
a record-breaking year for us.
You have the full list.
I have the full. I do want to thank everyone who's kind of given up literally hours of their time for just to kind of come and talk robots with us. So from the top, a thank you to Jake Hewitt, Will Bales, Jameson Go, Brandon Zielinski, Anthony D'Ambrosio, Victor Soto, Jordan Neal, Craig Danby, David Ginn and the Ribot team, Hal Rucker, Jonathan Schultz, of course, Pete Abramson, Adam and Moose from Shatter, and Matt Vasquez, and of course, Aren, Alex, Ginger, a couple times each this season. Thank you so much for your time.
You've been on here more than Matt has. I mean, that's a first.
Yep.
We've had the Vasquez boys.
He's going to be getting jealous.
So many times.
He's going to be getting jealous. He really is. But that is it.
I'm excited to face Whiplash next year
as well.
I was going to say, you mean you've been close twice now with Tantrum to fighting Whiplash. I feel like it has to be done, right? Like that's has to be done.
Right. It has to be done.
But yeah, that is it. And I don't know when Bounty Hunters is going to appear. I'm assuming it's going to appear at some point. If
they kind of just dropped it on us last year, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, oh, here's more. We thought we were getting a break, Sam. Remember that?
Yep. And we actually are going to get a break. We're actually going to get a break this time, which is.
I'll probably turn back into Jevon by then. But other than that.
And David, thank you for jumping in as well for the last couple of weeks. It's been a joy.
It's been marvelous. It's been absolutely marvelous, and I'll just look back at the Lego models. Think, yes, I've got my own seems reasonable. Everything is fine here.
You have seems reasonable at home.
Literally do. I won't look at my bank balance because I've been on eBay.
Oh dear me. Well, with all that said, good luck everyone trying to get this in the right order, because this is going to be fun to kind of outro. I am Samuel at 64.
I'm Steve the American Killjoy.
I've been DavidOfSmeg.
I've been Alex Grant. Aaron's muted.
Aren is muted.
I'm Aren Hill from Seems Reasonable. The mute just saved me.
I'm Ginger.
And myself, Steve, and Jevon will see you at some point in the near future for more podcasty goodness, I'm sure. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed what I like to call Seems Seasonable, which is season 6.
Oh,
You ruined it, Sam.
I know, I
I'm
tried.
We had a
It's
good
like-
run.
It's like Anderson's back here again.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
It's-
Well, on that
Ah,
damp squid, see you later, everyone.
see ya.
See ya.
All right. Oh, God. That's not what I want to do. I'm going to keep that in.